Welcome to Tech Tuesday, a weekly series where we discuss some awesome tech cards to help make you a better player. Wait, fuck, how many weeks has it been? Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Now today I wanted to bring to you a little tech guide that'll really help you guys out in looking at some of the top matchups going into the meta. And with YCS Pittsburgh coming up this weekend, I figured it's probably the best time to probably give you guys this sort of guide. One of my patrons actually suggested this, and it was kind of funny because I haven't done Tech Tuesday really since I started this channel. I know some of you guys, at least some of my fans that have been around here for a long time, really missed that segment, so I thought I'd give us a little throwback into the past there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at what I've got for you guys. So what we're looking at here with the meta is, obviously in my meta analysis, I'm forecasting that we got Zodiac, we got True Draco Zodiac, as well as Pure True Draco, which kind of fall into the same category, as well as True King Dinos as the top 3 decks to beat moving into this format. So what kind of tech cards are we really looking at here? So let's start off with Zodiac, because I still personally feel that Pure Zodiac is the best deck moving into this format, solely because of its consistency. I know that a deck like True King Zodiac and other True King variants, possibly even True King Dinosaurs as well, just have much higher ceilings, but the sole consistency of Zodiac is something you really cannot, factor out when you're looking at these top decks. So that's why I want to start with Zodiac. So DD Crow, if it's a card that you're not already playing, is something that I would highly recommend. Now, with the advent of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, as well as Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which we've had for several formats now, it's kind of difficult to justify playing an additional hand trap. Also, when you factor Maxi into the mix as well, because if you're maxing out on all of those 3 hand traps, then you're already looking at 7 hand traps. But DD Crow is something else that you could add to the hand trap arsenal for several different reasons. First off, it's a way to disrupt the fusion substitute combo, which prevents them from plussing in such, such dividends for the most part, because if you can banish the Norden, the most they're going to be able to get is potentially 1 draw off the Digusto Emerald, but then Norden's out for the rest of the game, which means that you're also just completely neutralizing any copies of Instant Fusion that they have, and if they're playing more copies of Fusion Substitute, that's just another dead card as well. And the only really way that they can out that is if they happen to be playing Leviair in the extra deck, which only like 1% of Zodiac players are doing, because it's just not worth running Leviair for that really niche scenario that the Norden does get banished. So I still really think DD Crow is in like the top trinity of hand traps. I guess it would be number 4 because Ash Blossom and Ghost Ogre are just too good not to play right now, but DD Crow is probably the next in line that if you're looking for something really strong against that matchup, I would highly recommend it. Another hand trap that I've also discussed in the past as well is Droll and Lockbird. Now, Droll and Lockbird kind of fills the same void as DD Crow, and I've seen some decks that have been topping some of the nationals that have been happening in Europe, and also some of the regionals that we're getting the results from the past weekend. People have actually been playing Droll and Lockbird either in the main deck and the side deck. I've done a whole video discussing why that's the case, but just the short version is just because you can completely lock down their ability to search. There's no reason for them to go into a Digusto Emerald because they're not going to be able to add any cards. So the best play they're going to get is maybe they might get a search off their Thoroughblade, and depending on what they search at that moment, then you just Droll and Lockbird them, and the best play that they can make is possibly going into Trident, and then they have to pass because they really don't have anything else they have left to do. So by taking out their ability to draw so many cards, that means they're not drawing into hand traps, that means they're not drawing into their Solemn Strikes, their Warning, their Imperial Order, all these different things. It's a really, really powerful option. Now, again, is it warranted? Possibly. It really just depends on how you see your meta in your area, whether it's your regionals or anything like that, or how many Zodiac decks you predict you're going to be going up against to justify if it's worth running the Droll and Lockbird. And then last but not least, I want to discuss a card called Deck Lockdown. Now, funny enough, I actually did do a Tech Tuesday on Deck Lockdown. It was probably 2 years ago, maybe, because Deck Lockdown is a really interesting card. So the effect of Deck Lockdown is neither player can add cards from deck to hand except by drawing them, and neither player can special summon monsters from the deck. So this is incredibly powerful against Zodiac, Zodiac for a myriad of different reasons you're probably already running through your head. This means that their Tenki can't search Rat. This means Barrage can't special summon from the deck. This means that Rat Pier can't special summon another Rat Pier from the deck. There's so many different things that deck lockdown stops that if you're going first, you can do your entire play, drop deck lockdown on the field, and then your opposing Zodiac player is just completely screwed unless their hand is like the best hand they've ever drawn in their life. That could also just out deck lockdown in general. So it's another card you could toy around with if you're feeling really ballsy. Again, I don't know if I would play it. Maybe it would have to be like a very heavily condensed meta that's solely focused on Zodiac, but it's still a really cool choice nonetheless. Now, let's move on to the True Draco or True Draco Zodiac tech portion as well. So some cool cards here. If you haven't already caught on to the trend, Cosmic Cyclone is definitely a tech that you should be running, if not maining, at 3 or even possibly just 2, because it hits so many powerful cards. You can hit the Dragonic Diagram, you can hit their True Draco spells and trap cards, and that's probably the best application for Cosmic Cyclone, because not only are you going to prevent them from all the advantage that's going to accrue off of those spells and traps, but it's banishing it, meaning that its effect won't trigger when it hits the graveyard to pop some of your spells or traps or even monsters depending on what you hit with it. So that's really powerful, but the most important thing as well is you're denying their ability to tribute summon or additionally tribute summon, whether it's their turn or yours. And I feel like that's just something you really can't leave out when it comes to the True Draco match. They gain their advantage from all these tribute summons that they're able to acquire, and if you can shut that aspect of the deck down, it really slows down the deck and its ability to accrue advantage, and it puts you in a very advantageous position. Now, another really cool card is Magic Deflector. Now, Magic Deflector is a card we haven't seen, funny enough, since Monarchs were actually really popular. Magic Deflector is a trap card that negates the effects of all field spells, equip spells, continuous spells, any spell that's basically not a normal spell for the most part, and I think Ritual as well. Now, the application for True Draco with this card shouldn't be really much of a surprise. Dragonic Diagram is a field spell, and True Draco Heritage, as well as Disciples of the True Draco, are both continuous spells. So being able to deny all of those cards for a single turn, and depending on what deck you're playing, Magic Deflector might not harm you at all. Because one of the biggest problems is, against the True Draco matchup, say you out the Dragonic Diagram, you still have to worry about the Heritage just giving them a ton of draws and giving them the additional Tribute Summon. Or vice versa, if you stop the Heritage, then they have the Diagram. Sometimes even if you stop Diagram, they have another way to get to another Diagram anyway. So this is a really cool way to kind of just flat out negate all spells for the turn and really slow the deck down to a halt. Now, obviously they can still use their cards like Pot of Desires, Card of Demise, all their normal spells, but depending on the circumstance and how their hand shapes up, it might not even be optimal for them to do so. They might not be in a situation where doing anything is even going to progress their game state, and you could almost, depending on the deck you're playing, just take over the game and even possibly win on the following turn of a successful Magic Deflector the turn prior. So I really like that card a lot. And the last card I want to discuss for the True Draco matchup is Zombie World. Now, Zombie World has a lot of parallels here to Mask of Restrict, and it also has the same weaknesses, I suppose, as well. But Zombie World's really cool because it's searchable off of terraforming. So that essentially means you have 6 ways to access Zombie World if you're playing 3 copies, as opposed to the 3 copies of Mask of Restrict. Now, the thing is as well, is that if you're already playing terraforming in your deck, you only need to play 1 or 2 copies of Zombie World if you're planning on getting it out onto the board. So this is cool because just like Mask of Restrict, it prevents tribute summoning. Zombie World only allows for the tribute summon of zombie monsters, but what I really like about this card is that it also synergizes if you're playing some sort of Shiranui zombie deck, because it allows you to take full advantage of the fact that all monsters are going to be zombies. So that's really cool as well. It has the same weaknesses as Mask of Restrict, because basically the True Draco deck could just play one of their spells and traps, use Diagram, pop it, and then pop your spell or trap. I think I just like Zombie World a little bit better because of the fact that it's more easily accessible through a card like Terraforming. It doesn't have the surprise factor because it's not a trap, but I think, frankly, if I'm just trying to shut them out, I would rather be able to get to the card easier than to surprise them. Now moving on to the last deck, True King Dinosaur. Again, this is another deck that you should expect to see a lot of, especially if you're going to YCS Pittsburgh, because the deck is just absolutely absurd. And Forbidden Chalice, on top of being one of my favorite cards of all time, is a really powerful card in that matchup, because being able to negate cards like Oviraptor, or just the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, or the Logia, or the True King of all Calamities, there's so many powerful cards that Forbidden Chalice can hit and allow you to continue on with your turn after the True King Dinosaur player has established their field, and that's very important to note. Then you also have Different Dimension Ground. Now this card is nasty, because if you go first and have the Different Dimension Ground and your opponent uses their Lithosogem and attempts to pop some dinosaurs, you flip up that Different Dimension Ground and they are fucked, because they are going to have to banish their dinosaurs, and they are just going to be in for a world of hurt, because everything for the remainder of that turn is going to get banished. They're not going to be able to do any of the crazy combos the deck is capable of doing, and it's just a really solid card all around. Also helps out too if you're going up against any 60 card matches playing grass, that you could just duel for that as well. Just something to take note of. And then last but not least, the last card I want to discuss is Mirror Force. Now, Storming Mirror Force made a popular resurgence back in when Zodiac was first released, because it's a very solid option in the Zodiac meta, because all the monsters are coming out of the extra deck and they're not being destroyed, so there wasn't really a way to out Storming Mirror Force. That's why you saw a lot of players kind of just poking with like a Thoroughblade, because it wasn't really an optimal thing to get outed by Storming Mirror Force, so it became these little grindy poke games, especially in the mirror matches. Now regular Mirror Force I think is actually going to make a comeback for several different reasons. First off, this card outs Miscellaneousaurus, because Miscellaneousaurus only works in the main phase, where Mirror Force works in the battle phase, and if they go all in to attack, you can literally just blow out their entire field as long as they don't have a Logia, or if you have some way to bait out the Logia first, you can just Mirror Force them and just completely end their day. Second off, My Body as a Shield is completely falling out of favor for most decks, because that was a very specific tech for the Zodiac mirror matches as a whole. You're going to see some people playing My Body because it's still an okay card, but now with My Body pretty much almost falling completely out of favor in the meta, Mirror Force now has free reign that it's not going to be negated by a card like that, and you can totally use it in the Zodiac matchup as well, because a lot of the times they're going to get very aggressive and try to go in and push for a lot of damage, and they can just run straight into a Mirror Force, and you can just completely end their life. So I really think Mirror Force is going to be a popular option moving forward, especially because of the True King Dino matchup. I know some of the other decks like True Draco can just really easily out it before they go in to swing for an attack, or Masterpiece could just make himself immune to it and just say fuck you, but that's just neither here nor there, and that's why I just wanted to focus on specific tech cards for specific decks moving into this format. So guys, let me know down in the comments what your guys' favorite tech cards are against Zodiac, against True Draco, and True King Dinosaur. I'd really love to hear your guys' thoughts. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you found this video helpful, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time. 1, 2, 3.